Hello, and welcome to The Late Challenge, your regular beefy slice of no-nonsense, sliding tackle football chat in video and podcast form. I'm Gareth Roberts, back from a little break doing life-changing things. And as ever, I am joined by Mr. Mo Stewart.
Hello.
Who's prepping like mad for a stint at the Glastonbury Festival.
Yes, Glastonbury on the brain.
A big thanks to the legendary Bobby G for stepping in while I was away the last couple of weeks. Top work, lad. As ever, I had every faith. And as ever, Big Bobby G was brilliant. Unlucky to the one weirdo who unsubscribed because he was on. All a bit weird, that mate. But anyway, whatever you're into.
He's still lurking, you know he is.
Isn't he? He did actually unsubscribe.
Did
I
he
checked.
really?
Yeah, I had a checked.
Wow.
So we're £4 down a month. Anyway, on today's show, we will get stuck into the growing speculation around Andy Robertson's Liverpool future. Is it time for him to move on? Do we want him to move on? Does he really fancy Spain? Or will he stick around? We'll ask also whether the new Club World Cup is class or crass. Is it a proper global competition or just another bloated money spinner for God knows what reason, really, other than to fill people's pockets? And it's never us, is it? It's always them. We'll also have a look at the latest Red Summer going-ons. So there's transfer rumours, there's what still needs sorting out before the season kicks off, all of that. We'll throw in some nonsense, we'll throw in some other chat in there as well. On the subscriber show, I've got a plan for asking, what would you and what wouldn't you do for cash?
I'm a little bit concerned about this. I'm not going to lie.
That bit, I might add, is behind the paywall. Because who knows where that might go. Anyway, speaking of the paywall, if you would like to support what we're doing, we do, as we mention every week, have a Patreon. If you fancy having a go, you get one extra show every week, plus you get all the shows we've ever done on there, and it's still only £4 a month, the same price it's been for the last 2 years. So patreon.com/The Late Challenge podcast. Go and have a look, get involved, and you'll be able to find out what we would and wouldn't do for money later on.
Is there anything else in the world that's still the same price it was 2 years ago, by the way? I can't think of anything.
Memberships to Spirit of Shankly.
Still
only £10 a year, less than £1 a month. And it's been that way since 2008. So, you should sign up for them as well.
Good going.
Great set of lads I've heard. And girls. You can also, as well, by the way, if you want to back us, you can send us a virtual Barry's tea. And you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/The Late Challenge. And if you're skint and you're watching on YouTube right now, no worries at all, but do us a favour and hit the subscribe button on our channel. Doesn't cost you a penny, helps us loads. Have you done it yet? Go on.
So, speaking of Barry's tea, I mentioned to you just before about I had a dream about Barry's chocolate. So, you were actually in this dream, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Did I have my clothes on?
Yes.
Whew.
Thankfully. No, I saw a poster for Barry's chocolate, and it was you holding a load of chocolate bars saying Barry's chocolate, perfect for dunking in your tea. And it was so vivid and so real that I assumed that it was real. And Lindsay, if you're listening, she knows that I very rarely remember any of my dreams. So the fact that I even remember that shows you how deep into my psyche Barry's tea and you are. So welcome back. I'm glad you're here. And Barry's tea, if you haven't really thought about doing any more merch or chocolate or stuff like that, think about it. You go well.
And if you need someone to do voiceovers and all of that, I'm here and I'm available on a reasonable rate. Right, speaking of Robbos, I'm Robbo and he's Robbo as well, and I don't mind sharing the monk here. Robbo, the Liverpool FC one though, may be leaving us, it seems. So Fabrizio Romano the other day tweeted, exclusive, Atletico Madrid top target at left back is Andy Robertson, appreciated internally as an ideal candidate. Not an easy deal as Liverpool rate him highly, even with Kirkes due to join the club soon. Atleti have Robertson higher than Theo on their shortlist at left back so far. Now, what always happens with these things, particularly at this time of year, is one journalist says that, and then lots of other people then pile on, and then it's like, are they actually... I mean, I think there are some journalists, and you can work all this out yourself. The lads on Reddit do it quite well, where they just tear, the journalist on the basis of like, should you listen to them or not? And I think there's something in that. There are lads that will wait until they know things are facts, wait until things have been checked, wait until things are certain before they say them. And then there are lads who'll just, and it always is, by the way, pretty much lads in this particular field, there are lads who will just make things up and will just talk shite and do so for traction. That's not what we're about. I've got no insight on it. I'm just reading what you're all reading, and then we're discussing it. But yeah, there is stuff out there that he fancies the deal, he's interested in the deal, all of this kind of stuff. Who actually knows? Who actually knows? But the prospect of him going does seem to be at least an idea, and it's growing legs. The Romano fella, as my son likes to point out to me at every turn, is very often right. And so, he doesn't do his things that he does, whether you're into it or not, without a reason. But yeah, I mean, my thing with this is, when I've been thinking about it last few days, as it's all sort of been growing those legs, is I'd actually be a bit sad if Robbo goes, because, I think... as time's gone on, as football's gone the way it's gone, as I've got older, I put players on a pedestal less and less these days, and I get emotionally attached less and less to players these days. I think I was scarred maybe by, the Torres stuff was probably the last time where I was really all in on a fella going, he's just... oh, I love him. We had the Torres song, all of that. And then, so maybe like, what I thought about the Trent situation wasn't what lots of other people felt about it, and that's fine, by the way. But perhaps one of the reasons was that I'm just not as invested in them. Do you know what I mean? But with Robbo, can't have him. Do you know what I mean?
He does share your name, but it does make a difference. As someone who shares a name with another Liverpool footballer, it does make a difference. Trust me.
But it's like the values of the fella. Like, I get that I'm a miserable bastard, and maybe that's part of it too. But if you're in my exclusive club of where I've let you into my head a little bit, like, Bobby was in there 100% because he was just boss. And Robbo's in there too. And I just think, it's not just like everything he's done, and there's an argument to say, not even an argument, there's a strong case to say he's one of the best left backs we've ever had.
Oh yeah.
We've had a lot of crap ones as well.
I was going to say.
But he's right up there. He's bought with no fanfare from Hull City, couldn't even get in the team at first, worked his arse off every time he's put that Liverpool shirt on. I think we value that as a city, as a group of people. And look, we talk all the time, don't we, in Liverpool, about things the club do and say, and slogans, and who they partner with and how they act, and we say, well, does it align with our values? And I think with Robbo, he's aligned with the values, and that's why he's so liked. And equally, the other side of the coin is, you need to not do all this if you're running a football club. You need to be cold, hard, non-emotional, and say, the lad's 31. And if someone's offering dough for him in the last year of his contract...
It's the difference between being a fan, looking at the situation, and being a businessman, looking a part of the business, looking at the situation. Now, I echo absolutely everything you said there. I think the thing with Robbo is, where we are in football in the world at the moment, it's really hard to say you understand or you know any footballers, because what we see of them is such a small percentage of their life. So it's harder to say, oh, he's sound or he's an knobhead, because we just don't know. And the majority of what we see of them is very much media managed, very much brand managed. Whereas with him, we do see a little bit more of him and his personality than most.
Yeah.
And I mean, shout out to Mike Manning and all of the Liverpool social media team. They love him because he is just such a ray of sunshine in and around. Like, the amount of times there's clips of him doing something stupid or singing to one of his, like making the new players who probably don't even understand English feel at home by like singing their name or putting an arm around them or doing something.
Rating biscuits.
Yeah, exactly. all of that stuff, like that's his personality. Like you can't fake that stuff. So as much as you can say, oh, well, you don't really know footballers, like you feel like it's easier to say you do know him than a lot of others. And like you say, the way that he is, what he does outside of football, I mean, the stuff that he's been doing with homeless charities for years and years as part of his foundation, it's very similar to Jurgen as much as, like you say, he aligns with what we like to think we are as a community of Liverpool supporters. And then you look at it from the other side and the football side, and yeah, it's difficult because everybody has that moment where time taps you on the shoulder and says, come on, lad, it's time to go. But you don't have to be happy about it. And I think most people, myself included, thought that we're signing a guy who's a left back for 45 million quid, who played 38 out of 38 league games last season. So you expect he's going to be the first choice. He's going to be the one who plays the most. But if he needs a rest, or if there are other games, like if we're playing like a League Cup team, or we're playing one of the Champions League games where maybe we don't necessarily need to play the first team, who's the perfect man to have in the team to keep them all honest, to keep everybody sharp? It's him. Think about the PSV game last season. He was playing centre half. And he did a really good job of it. And he was helping everybody else out on the pitch because he understands what it is to be an elite footballer. And he can help share that with everyone else on the pitch. So you don't really want to lose that easily. But then you've got to consider him, the person, the man. The reason why he is such a great professional is probably the same reason why he would find it hard to be a backup.
Yeah. And also, you know, from a business perspective as well, which, you know, we don't like as fans, do we? But equally, we do like if we win things. And, you know, we've probably got a better chance of winning things if we run the business well.
Yes.
And, you know, say what you like about FSG, and plenty of people have over the years, but, you know, they are very much in credit in how they run this football club as far as I'm concerned. Now, there's plenty of things that they have done, still do at times, that I don't agree with and don't like. But look, you can't really fault when we've won 2 league titles, when we've won the European Cup, when we've won pretty much the lot. And, you know, at their, you know, you talk about when people, you know, were almost putting Michael Edwards, talking about having a statue of him in terms of how we'll run. You know what I mean? In terms of the buying, the selling, what we got.
Yeah.
We're trying to get back to that, aren't we? After a bit of a sort of, you know, a bit of a bump in the road, if you like, when perhaps Jurgen got a bit too much say and a bit too much power, and loads of people suddenly went out the door, and then they've all started coming back again. It's not hard to join the dots, is it?
No.
And, you know, you've got Arne there as head coach now. So, you know, bit of, you know, bit less influence, I would suggest, in terms of all this. So it might be that we get back to a bit of ruthlessness, and that might be tough to take at times, like it is with this. But they will be looking at, look at the wages he's on. They will be looking at how often is he going to play.
Yes.
And they will be looking at if Atletico offers something decent when he's in the final year of his contract and he wants to go, they might look at all of that and say, well, that's worthwhile us saying yes. Because I think as well, I've quite enjoyed the policy that seemed to exist a little bit under Jurgen as well, where if someone really wants to go, let them go then.
Yeah.
And it may well be that he balances all the same probabilities and just thinks, as you say, I don't want to do that. I'm captain of Scotland. I want to stay as captain of Scotland. Yeah. And I think I'm, you know, if you listen to the way he speaks as well, he doesn't sound like someone who's winding down.
No.
He sounds like someone who thinks he's got plenty left in the tank.
Yeah.
And almost he thinks, based on what he said, even in recent times, that it's a little bit overplayed about how bad he suddenly is. And I would agree with that, by the way. I think there have been times, don't get me wrong, where he's been caught out and, you know, he was sent off and give penalties away and all of this kind of stuff. But also there were plenty of games where he was like more than decent. And no one really talked about that because it didn't fit the season narrative.
I think his biggest problem last season was that his 3 worst games were Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, and Real Madrid at home. Arguably 3 of the biggest games, most high-profile games. The kind of thing that people are going to remember. So you look at those and you think, okay, well, eventually, like I said, time passes for everyone. So he's no longer at that elite level. But I also think that, as we see with a lot of footballers, as we've probably seen with Kev De Bruyne, that if you take them out of the white hot heat of the Premier League intensity, they could probably still be an elite footballer. And I would have backed him to say that he could be at his best level 25 Liverpool games next season, 30 maybe Liverpool games next season. Maybe a lot of times he'll be getting 25 off the bench after Kirkes comes in. Obviously, he thinks that he's better than that. And the other thing in this is what he's potentially being told by Atletico Madrid and by Diego Simeone. Think about the kind of players that Simeone loves. He's got that in spades. Someone who runs all day, someone who is tough, someone who is a true professional, who puts his absolute heart and soul into every single game. And then you look at Atletico's squad. They've just lost Azpilicueta. They've lost their other main left-back in Mandava. Javi Galán was playing there last night. He's not really what you'd call a kind of left-back who can be the whole season. There's a room for him there to go to Atletico Madrid and to play and to be an actually integral part. I mean, look at what Kieran Trippier did when he went to Atletico Madrid. He won the league with them there. And I think Simeone's looking at him and thinking, you can be my new Kieran Trippier. And the other thing we have to mention, not only is his mate just moved to Madrid, they have the same agency.
Yes, indeed. I'm aware.
I almost didn't want to mention that, but I feel like it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see how this would be appealing to Robbo. Absolutely, you can see. And like you say, you can see how it would be appealing to the club. Like, frankly, as much as it hurts when players who've won everything leave, we have to get used to it as fans because it's going to happen. Like, all of them are going to leave. Van Dijk's eventually going to leave. Salah's eventually going to leave. Alisson's going to leave. And we're going to be sad.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the right thing to do. And we as a club need to get back to getting money for players when they leave. Like, everyone can't leave on a free. So you can tell, like, depending upon what kind of price Atletico Madrid are willing to pay for him, I could be convinced that this is the best thing.
I mean, he did play, like, for all the, he's been written off massively by a lot of people. Some people doing so in the comments there, I can see as well, and seeing some similar stuff on social media last few days. 45 appearances last season, 33 in the league. And if you look at sort of the appearances, 342 for Liverpool in total in his 8 years here, but season 130, then 48, 49, 50, 47, 43, 30, and then back up to 45, if you like, for the season just gone. He might not be, and well, he isn't the player in terms of the legs maybe and all the rest of it that he was when he arrived, but he's still an experienced defender. And this, back to you already acknowledged it, that's the bit that I'm kind of like, Kirkes, I like Kirkes. I've heard other people who aren't sure about him, and is he a bit Moreno and all that kind of stuff. He's 21.
Yeah, he is.
And playing 38 league games for Bournemouth is not playing 38 league games for Liverpool. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd just be a bit like, if it's just him and Tsimikas.
Well, this is the other part, isn't it? Because I think a lot of us had mentally kind of prepared for the departure of Tsimikas.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So Robbo leaving means Costas is staying, essentially. And yeah.
I think he had. That's why I was having a big, massive Chinese in Ormskirk the other week.
Yeah, perhaps. But so, yeah, and you look at it and you think, who's better, who's more likely to be okay with me in a backup? And you say Costas. Who's likely to be better as a backup? Then it's obviously going to be Robbo. I think if you, in the worst case scenario, Kirkes comes in and he struggles and he's having a bad time of it, you want Robbo to come in. Like, you'd want him to be the one to come in and be like, okay, well, I can take a few games off you. I can make it a little bit easier for you. I can also give you some advice in the dressing room about playing as a left back, about playing against some of the really good right wingers in the league. I don't know if the spaceship's taking off outside.
I know, yeah.
Maybe it's Costas' helicopter taking into Ormskirk, who knows. But there are so many intangibles you get with Robbo. And we talked about the dressing room culture. We talked about all of those other things. But sometimes it can just be a case of you need someone who you can rely on. You need someone who you can trust. And I think that most people trust Robbo more than Costas at this stage. I also just think the thing that you always go on about, he's a knobhead, and we need some knobheads on the pitch. We need someone who's going to laugh in Jordan Pickford's face.
Exactly.
We need someone.
I mean, this is what's going to be missing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's what I'm. I'm trying to be all sensible and talk about it all in a sensible way. But I love the fact that I love all the the stuff that isn't measured in stats. I love the laughing in the face. I love sending the fella onto the running track when we're playing Roma. I love the beef. I love the winding up the opposition. I love that all the fans of all the other teams, especially Evertonians, seem to absolutely hate him.
Yes.
I love that. I love his backstory. I love that tweet that says, "Life at this age is rubbish with no money. # need a job." That was only in 2012 when he was at Queen's Park. All of those things, like you said before, the food bank stuff. Like, I can remember when we were at the Wrap and we wanted to do something around, atmosphere and trying to, it happens every year, doesn't it? If you're having a good run, you try and get everyone pumped up. You do your job as fan media. Let's get everyone going. Let's get a positive atmosphere at Anfield. Let's get a loud, fever and, whatever. Let's get everyone going. And I remember talking to the club about that, saying it would be great if we could speak to a player about the impact that has, like get someone to come out and say, yes, it's massive for us. Yes, it does push us on. Yes, I hear what you're saying. And yes, I like it if it's positive and not all of those things. And they were like, sound, Robbo's agreed to do it. And there he was. And he spoke on it really well. Spoke to him on one of the pre-season tours as well. He was brilliant then as well. And it's like you say, a lot of people were just making assumptions on what we see on the pitch and maybe bits of social media or stuff in the press. Being fortunate enough to sort of meet him a little bit behind the scenes, and he was exactly what you expect him to be. Sound. And sound fella.
I think you think of the Liverpool leadership group. Obviously, the vice captain's left, but you've still got Van Dijk, you've still got Alisson, you've still got Mo Salah, you've still got Robertson. Those are the main four of the leadership group. Right. 4 very different personalities. Now, I think that as a group, they do really well to lead that dressing room and to make sure everyone gets the right amount of what they need to get there, to get to be an actual elite football team. But if you think about it, who out of those others is going to be able to give some of the things that Robbo gives? I'm struggling to think of anyone else in that dressing room who can do. I mean, when it was him and Milner, you had the two of them. And then Milner left, and he's like, okay, Milner left, and that's sad, but Robbo's still around. Like, that element of what he does behind the scenes, I'm struggling to think of who could take that mantle on.
Do we overplay that, though? Do we overplay that? Like, in terms of cold, hard, running a business, you can't have everyone on massive wages. Even Wirtz, it seems, is not going to come in and be one of the absolute top earners at the club, which we'll come on to and, again, say, suggest sensible running of what's going on. Like, we talked about this about Henderson. He's a leader, he's this, he's that, he's the other. Then next minute it was he stayed too long, why is he still here? Why is he being given another deal? You know what I mean? So there's a sweet spot. The Bob Paisley stuff, let them grow old on someone else's books and all that kind of stuff. So, don't know.
I think the money matters in this conversation. And it's hard when you've been at the very top for a long time to then take a small deal. I think we saw that a little bit. Again, I mentioned Kevin De Bruyne. Like, he was very upset with the way that City kind of didn't even really offer him a lower deal. They just said, nah, you're all right. And I think he might...
Wouldn't have made sense though, would it? Because even if you think about what we've done for Salah, like, De Bruyne's not getting on the pitch as much as Salah.
No.
The evidence is there. Again, the cold, hard facts are you could continue paying him top whack, and I'm sure he would produce moments of quality because he's an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
But does he justify that wage?
No. And this is the thing. I think in a vacuum, you could say to Robbo that we would probably need to pay you less money, but your value is still here. We still value you as part of the team, part of the squad, etc., etc. But then there's someone else out there who will give him more money, and will value him and will play him. And if it's someone who's playing in the Champions League and who's within one of 3 teams who can win the league in Spain, then he's going to go, like, if he's got those 2 deals on the table, then it's obvious that one's going to be a little bit more enticing, even if he has got an emotional attachment to being at Liverpool. Because as hard as it'll be for us to see him go, it'll be hard for him to leave as well. But
I want to keep bigging him up. Like, I want to keep talking about the good bits. But equally, I've got to say, if he turns up at Atletico and does a press conference in Spanish, my fucking head will fall off. My head will fall off. I've just been learning it the last 2 weeks, have you, lad? Yeah.
All right.
But let's talk about some of the good bits. I was thinking about some good bits today. Obviously, the one that always comes to mind with Robbo is when he chased down half of the Man City team, going from player to player, even the goalie, opposite flank, and everyone's just like that. Talking about atmosphere. That's a moment when the players made the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I can remember when we first started singing his name as well. And he was absolutely made up that we sang his name, and he made a point of saying about it.
Yeah.
I remember when he scored his first goal for Liverpool, and it wasn't blasé about it. He was fucking made up. Yes. You know what I mean? And that's what you want to see as a fan. That's what I mean about it, aligning with us, chiming with us. Like, you look at it and you think, yeah, if I'd ever been good enough and I'd have been on that pitch, that's what I would have been like if I'd have scored a goal.
Exactly.
None of this, fucking whatever, look at me, aren't I? But be like, fucking get it! Yeah! That's what you want.
No, it is what you want. And like you say, he very much embodied us on the pitch and gave his everything at every moment. I think that's another part of it. And yeah, there were times when, like we said previously, he made mistakes and it wasn't always perfect. But I do think that he never gave anything more than his best. Like, one thing that I've noticed in the last probably 2 years is that he's got less likely to score than rather than more likely. The amount of times he's in situations where you think, go on then, and then the shot will be, oh man, what are you doing? But he'll still be there, ready to go, and he'll still want to get in that same position again. He'll still put himself in position. And I think if you talk to the lads who are playing in front of him, Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo, they will tell you about how important he's been for them. And then think about how many goals the 2 of them have scored this season and how much of a contribution Robbo's runs, underlapping, overlapping, providing that extra bit of security behind them has been to them. It's been really important to what has been a very successful Liverpool season. So even if it is the point where you can see he's only going to get less effective from here, you could still tell me a story that he would be still effective next season. Like I said before, I still think that it comes down to what kind of money Atletico offer. But I tell you what, when he does finally depart, I'm talking to you again, Mike Manning, the highlights reel is going to be an absolute all-timer. Like you mentioned the City game. The other one that always sticks in my mind is his goal in the derby. Because it's like, I know that if you'd have asked every single Evertonian in that ground who was the last person you wanted to score a goal, it would have been him. And he knew it. He knew it. He felt it. He smelt it. And so that was possibly one of my favourite. 2 of my favourite moments of being in the ground was that and the City, because I was there for that game as well. There's not a lot of joy in football a lot of the time. We're going to come on to talk about that. He's someone who still always represents joy for me. Joy in playing the game, but also joy in watching and living the game.
And a bit of an ass on top as well. Giving Messi the little head rub and all that kind of stuff. A famous person once said, I am still tired just looking at Robertson. He makes 100-metre sprints per minute. Absolutely incredible. And these are qualities. That famous person was Jose Mourinho when he was the Manchester United manager. Robertson, 342 appearances for the Reds since his £8 million move from Hull in 2017. Surely one of the bargains of the Premier League era. 11 goals, assisted 67 goals. That 67 places him 15th in Liverpool's all-time top creators. The stuff he's been saying recently, I don't think any of it sort of particularly dampens any of this. He says, I've discussed my future, of course. We've had good discussions, me and the club, but what the future holds, I'm not sure. Then he's talking about going on holiday, having a rest, see what happens type of thing. He's not really done anything either way to dampen it. He said there's a bit as well, which I sort of highlighted in red on the agenda because it was a bit where I went, when I read it, where he said, if you're happy with your role, you stay and you do it. But if you're not, then I'm sure there will be some people out of the door as well.
Yeah.
And we're kind of getting the same vibes from Harvey Elliott, aren't we? He said some very similar stuff recently as well. In terms of what we'd be left with, we mentioned Tsimikas already. Obviously, Kirkes, it looks really likely that he is going to come in. Bournemouth have now signed basically his replacement. Yeah. And Liverpool, outside of Tsimikas and Kirkes, if Robertson were to go, you're looking at Owen Beck, who's 22, Luke Chambers, who's 20, and Callum Scanlon, who are 20, as maybe other options in the academy, but none of whom I would suggest anyone is particularly raving about at this point.
I think Owen Beck is a talented footballer, but he had 2 really bad injuries last season at Blackburn. Didn't play a lot, hardly at all in the second half of the season. I'd say the same. Luke Chambers, again, he's shown flashes where it's like, okay, if he continues on the trajectory, he could become a very good footballer. But the point of being number 2 backup in any squad is that if the number 1 goes down for an extended period of time, do you think this player is good enough to play for 2 months straight? And the answer for me for any of those 3 is no. I don't think they are. I think they'll probably all go back out on loan. So I think that you'd end up being in a situation where it would be Kirkes, Tsimikas, and then if he's still around, I hope he's still around, Joe Gomez as the third option for the left back. I still think asking any of those 3 to do, like I say, a month's worth of football. I mean, think about what happened a couple of seasons ago, or even last season, where we were asking Jarrell Quansah to play game after game after game. I still think these 3 are a little bit below that level. So again, that becomes a business.
I think Slot gives less of a fuck as well. I think, like with Klopp, he engendered this sort of like family feel to the club, and obviously dishing out the hugs left, right, and centre. And I think some of it was down to style of play and injuries and all the rest of it, that he almost had to use some of these lads. But equally, he always got the impression that he loved to give a kid an opportunity. I don't think Slot gives a fuck. I honestly don't think I don't think that's in him.
He's not shown any inclination towards doing that.
I think he's a lot more ruthless, and he's just like, if I don't think you're good enough, I'm going to tell you, and I'm also not going to play you.
Yeah.
Just one little thing. I don't want to go too into this because it's not really us, if you like. But I just thought it would be interesting to have a little bit of a look at. I don't know how many of you mess around with the website FBref, but it's a stats person's paradise, and it's free. And you can do these little scouting reports. Now, the dead easy way to explain it is, if stuff's in green and it's near the top, it means they're still pretty good at it. So if you do that for Robbo, it's still basically coming across that he's really good creatively. So he's still creating lots of shot-creating actions. In fact, he is in the 80th percentile, or however you put it across if you bang into maths. Hi, Cara. He's also dead good at passes attempted, not bad at pass completion, really good at progressive passes, really good at running with the ball, all of this kind of stuff. But some of the defensive stuff, based on the last season, based on the last 365 days, compared to his peers in men's Big 5 leagues, isn't that good, to be honest, if you look at it like this. And again, this is where I think this is what they'll obviously be doing at Liverpool. So, they'll look at it and say, well, successful take-ons really low, tackles low, interceptions low, blocks low, clearances low, aerials won low. And it's like...
I think probably for me, the biggest knock against him is that you're starting to feel like the team has to play a little bit differently when he's there. Like, he started to maybe drop a little bit deeper than the team would normally like to play. We played the high line defensively for years now under Klopp and under Slot. And it's almost as if that he doesn't back himself as much to leave a lot of space in behind him to run back and chase back after fast wingers. So he's dropped a little bit back. So it's kind of compromised the whole team game plan a little bit. And I think those are the kind of things you mentioned, Slot being ruthless. Those are the kind of things where if he's looking at it, he's just like, yeah, we can't have this.
And if you do the same thing for Simicast,
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's actually...
It's a little bit better, isn't it?
It's not bad, you know.
The defensive side.
Like, if I've been sitting here all season, you know, basically saying I'm not sure about him, we should upgrade on him, you know, all the rest of it. He's done all right, and obviously he's had his moments and all the rest of it, and he's a likeable fella. But when you do the cold, hard stats thing, which we know they all do at Liverpool all the time, some of the figures there aren't bad for Hard Simmy, so fair play. So, you know, him creatively, he's not bad, and he's not. This is obviously based on much less minutes than Robbo. That you have to throw that caveat in. But creatively, he's pretty good. He's in some of the top tier, if you like, based on that. Passes attempted good, pass completion good, progressive passes good, but tackles also good, interceptions also good. Interceptions really good. So, you know, stuff like that maybe goes a little bit under the radar if you're just in the stands going the match and then going the boozer afterwards. Me.
Yeah.
And I was quite surprised, to be honest.
And the thing about
Don't mind saying so.
In interceptions, it's a kind of stat. It speaks to intelligence because you have to be aware of where the ball's probably going to go and where their teams are trying to attack you, but also concentration because it could happen at any time, and also recovery speed. And the first two of those things are definitely things that most people don't necessarily associate with Simicast. Like, he looks a little bit gormless, and so sometimes you feel like he's not the smartest player. But I think in order to be that good at intercepting the ball, you've got to be a bit of football smarts, if nothing else. So, yeah, and like I said before, I feel like mentally we've all kind of assumed that this would be the end of him. So to end up having more of him might be difficult for some people. But if you look at the cold, hard data, he's still good enough to be a reserve Liverpool player.
Let's move on. That's lots of left back chat, isn't it? Loads of it, like majority of the show. So a bit of it. I don't want to do too much just because it's done to death absolutely everywhere. You know, they're digging out everyone who, you know, ever served them an ice cream or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like anything, everything. You know, there are 1,000,001 pieces written about him, and it's like, you know, what more is there to say until A, he's signed, and B, we've seen him play in a Liverpool shirt. But on that, it's widely accepted that it is done. It's widely accepted that there's going to be a medical at the end of this week. I just wanted to mention the as ever brilliant Jonathan Northcroft. Yes. He did a piece in the Times which I really enjoyed, and I just thought it sort of said some different stuff really and was worth talking about. There's a bit in particular where he talked about a senior Premier League scout that he'd spoken to. And he says he put aside envy to call the recruitment of Wirtz an excellent signing that positions Liverpool as the club to beat. He said City are now finding themselves having to make compromise signings, which is wild given their wealth and standing, but it's very much an accurate reflection of the market in 2025. He added that every team is looking for unicorns, and Liverpool are in the unique position of holding on to theirs in Mo Salah and Van Dijk, in contrast to City saying goodbye to De Bruyne, while saving their money for a splurge on the best available young candidate to become a future one. Clubs don't just need to sell as much as they once did. Gettable difference makers are in a short supply. And basically, Liverpool have gone and got one. Yeah. Despite City having a sniff, despite Bayern Munich having a sniff, whatever they've done and said, it's worked. And now who isn't excited about seeing this fella? And somehow he's going to arrive as not one of the top earners.
Yeah.
So again, brilliant work.
Well, I think that part is really important because it speaks to his character. I think the thing that Liverpool always do with any new signings, they say, we want to start you small, and then if you're as good as we believe you will be, your next deal will be the big one. And you have to back yourself as a footballer to say that you are going to be able to prove that. But also, I think that it shows a little bit of, he has a little bit of what you call deference to the people who are the top earners in the club, those unicorns you mentioned, Salah and Van Dijk. It's like, he is one of the best young players in the world. No one can doubt that. But Salah and Van Dijk have been the best players in their position in the world for a long, 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 long time. He knows that he has to get to that level yet. He's not there yet. So he's happy to be on a still good, don't get me wrong, he's not poor, a still very good wage, but he's not going there throwing his weight around, demanding that he's this, demanding that he's that. He knows that he's got to earn those kind of things in this Liverpool team. And I think that should almost make people more excited than anything else.
A few other little bits on the transfer-y stuff. Napoli are apparently competing with clubs from Saudi Arabia for Nunes. That is another Fabrizio Romano thing that he put out.
Yeah.
And then again, as I said earlier about the other one, it seems to have grown lots of legs with people getting more and more convinced that that is actually real, could actually happen.
Just to sing though, next season Napoli could have Scott McTominay, Kev De Bruyne, and Nunes, and Lukaku. Like, wild. Is that not the wildest squad you've ever had?
I quite fancy going to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's absolutely wild. But you know, I think most Reds, from what who I speak to, etc., are all in the camp of, you know, yes, at times he's done things for us. Not everything he did was bad. Newcastle away, we will always remember in particular for me, because A, it was me lad's first away, and B, Nunes came on and did that when we were down to 10 men. And there are many other moments as well, to be fair to him. But equally, we can all remember moments, can't we? Everton away as an example, where you were just like, lad, I'm not sure I want to watch too much more of this. So it kind of feels best for all parties if that does happen. Obviously, we want good money. We should see what happens. Another one from the same fella as well. I feel like I'm just doing like Romano's bidding for him today. But, you know, he does... Have you seen how many followers he's got?
Yes. I'm not going to get into the ones.
33 million?
Yeah. He's also doing adverts for lots of people as well. So, I mean, he's obviously earning a fair bit.
Wow. 33. Anyway, he's also said as well that Chiesa's desire remains to leave Liverpool and play on a regular basis somewhere next season, despite his excellent relationship with everyone at the club. He prefers to go back to Italy. And guess who's interested in it?
The likely lads of Naples.
So yeah, he could be on his way as well. Again, I kind of think we sort of covered it, what we said before. There are loads of Reds that, you know, I've got some Reds that certainly online who've got a bit of a cob on with me, because all season long I've been like, you know, what's the point in the fella? And it's like, I just don't think, when you think about Slot and his coaching team and the fact that we won the league, if he was pulling up any trees anywhere, they would have played him more. Yeah. And the fact that he's immediately saying, I'm happy to get off now. Again, it just feels like, well,
they've told him that. So obviously, the thing that Slot said all season long was that it's hard for him to displace Mo Salah, because Mo Salah is one of the best players in the world, and he proved it for the majority of the season. That's what he was saying. And to a lot of people, it's like, well, yeah, it's kind of an easy excuse. Well, next season, there's an AFCON. So there's a big chunk of the season where Mo Salah's not going to be playing for Liverpool. And if even given that, he doesn't feel like he's going to get in the side. Like the knowledge that there's a big opportunity for him to win his place and really have a run of games, if he still thinks that I'm probably not going to get that time, then I think that's really important.
I think it was obviously a bit of a gamble. What a risk he thought was worth taking. It hasn't paid off. They'll look to get the money back on him, and we'll all move on.
Yes, it's a shame. I don't think for the supporters who are out there who are getting on your back, or the ones who absolutely would love to see him, or feel frustrated or angry at the way he's been treated, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't want it to work. I think we all wanted it to work. It would have been fantastic. But you have to look at what we've seen. And again, I think there are people who say, oh, well, he showed a little bit in this and showed a little bit in that. I think there's a little bit of a rose-tinted look at some of his contributions. And
I mean, when the best you can cling to is he's got a good shot on him. When he's, it's like he was gonna have, innit? He should have.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other thing I just wanted to mention before we sort of wrap up on transfery stuff is just on Canate. In that, obviously now we're gonna go through this same rigmarole. It seems it's being reported that Real Madrid have started work on Canate being the next one out of Anfield on a free. And it's like, I just can't be arsed. Like, just let him go now. Do you know what I mean? Again, I mean, this way that they operate is really annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it must be really annoying for all the clubs on the wrong end of it. You know, it's not just us. You know, Mbappe, Rudiger, Alaba, you know, they all went in a similar fashion. Even Hazard back in the day, I think, was one as well, wasn't he?
I know they
got a fee for him.
No, so Hazard is the reason they do this. Because they spent loads of money on him when he was a croc. So now they're like, we're not spending money on anyone over the age of 26. We're just going to make them run.
We're just going to do it in this really moody way.
Yes.
I mean, the thing is, though, I'm one of those ones, and I've seen other people saying it where you're like, okay, let's just, you know, we need to not do this. But how? Do you know what I mean? Because they can basically get the players to blag it, can't they?
Yeah.
They can just say, look, just play. Just don't say anything. Don't mention us. Just keep saying, oh, we'll have talks, but the talks don't go anywhere. Keep running it down. Keep running it down. And then when the time comes, we'll be here waiting for you.
It's a fascinating...
And learn Spanish in the meantime.
It's a fascinating...
And get your funeral suit ready.
But no, it's a fascinating thing with Ibu as well, because you look at it and you think, okay, when he's at his best, he's got the quality to be the leader of that defence once Van Dijk finally age catches up with him. But every time he's asked to be the leader of the defence, it hasn't gone well. Like for France or for Liverpool, when he's been the guy, so like when he hasn't got a Van Dijk or a William Saliba next to him and he's asked to lead the defence, it's not great. Like, I don't know if you saw the game in the Nations League, France against Spain, where it ended up 5-4. Like, there were more than one goal that was laid at Ibu's door. And you just look at that and you think, obviously he's kind of come out and said that the rumours of him wanting X amount of money and this amount of money aren't true. But the fact is this, Liverpool would have definitely given him an offer and he hasn't signed it. And the quote that you put in the agenda is very telling. What he said, it's talked about, oh yeah, everything you saw on social media is completely fake and I didn't even ask for anything from the club and they made me an offer and I replied to them with something. That is it. They replied to them with something, i.e., I want more than that. But this is the thing, right? It was like, it's like, because it was not true at that moment, that's why I got a bit mad, because it was not true at that moment. I knew at one moment people would think I didn't want to sign the contract, but I was never close to signing it. We will see what will happen. That doesn't really sound like you wanted to sign it, does it?
No, and the very fact that we're already into claim and counter-claim and he said, she said, is not good, is it? Let's be honest. So it sounds like, however you want to like spin that, it sounds like Liverpool did go and have a chat with them and they haven't reached an agreement already. So now it feels we're on the trajectory already of he's winding down his contract.
The flip side of this, though, for Liverpool, is that the centre-half market isn't great right now. You see how many teams wanted to buy Dean Howson from Bournemouth, like everybody.
Including us, yeah.
Including us. And he ended up going, where? That's right, Real Madrid. So if we are going to be like, okay, we're going to sell Ibu now, who's coming in and for how much? Like, there is not a plethora of great young centre-backs out there. Like, I like Loic Bardet, who plays at Sevilla. I think he's a good player. I like Castello Lacabo, who plays for Leipzig. I like Diamandi, who plays for Sporting. But to say that any of those could come in and definitely play 45 Liverpool games, Premier League, Champions League straight away and be as good as Ibu, it's a risk. So are Liverpool going to end up saying, well, we're going to make you one good offer and if you don't take it, then we'll sell? Or are they going to, allow him to dance this dance and maybe make it late? Because PSG, the other team who've been heavily linked with getting him. By the way, PSG squad, if we let him go there, that's almost worse than going to Real Madrid, by the way, because I think replacing Marquinhos is the only real weakness that squad's got right now. But if they would absolutely be interested if they knew that he was available for sale this summer. So then you got two very big teams who are potentially bidding against each other. It could be a very, very decent wage transfer fee for a player who's again in the last year of his contract, and then it comes back to business.
Exactly. We shall see, and I'm sure it will be very boring. Anyway, right, where are we? We're fast approaching, I think, what we would normally say is time. We've got other things we could talk about. But you know what? I think we'll save them. We'll save them to make sure we're all right for the subscriber show. Because while I want to talk about what we would and wouldn't do for money, we like to throw other stuff in there as well. So why we're still on the free show and why we still got the free show audience, for people who are fortunate enough to be heading for Glastonbury, where can they see you? Where can they get over and watch Mo in action?
I'm glad you asked me that. So I'll be DJing on Thursday night, the Village Inn at 8:30. Now, if you don't know where the Village Inn is, if you know where the pyramid stage is, you go. If you're looking at the pyramid stage from the front, if you're this way and the pyramid stage is over there, you need to go to the left, and there's a little gap in the hedge. You go through that gap near to where the cider bus used to be, and might still be. And there's a big white tent with a disco ball in front. That's the Village Inn. That's where I'm going to be. And yes, I'm very excited. I was putting my set together literally just before I got here. I know I saw some people in the comments when I was talking about this last week saying, why are you planning your set? You should just kind of go there and freestyle and then it will happen. I did that a couple of years ago and it was all right, but it wasn't my best. There were a few bits where I was just like, that could have been better. Now, I want it to be the best it could possibly be. And also, because I know quite a few people who are going to be there, so you can kind of plan, like it's not like I'm going in blind. I kind of know, like, if in the worst case scenario, these 10, 12, 15 people will like this bit, and these people will like this bit. And so you can kind of start to construct a set. I'm not going to tell you what songs I'm playing, but it's 2 hours. Try and guess how many songs I'm going to be playing in 2 hours.
2 hours, 120 minutes. Don't know. 50.
That's a really good guess. The actual answer is 47.
Oh, so close.
I know. It's almost like you've been doing it yourself. Yeah, so 47 songs. I'm not going to tell you what they are. I will tell you that the oldest one is from 1977 and the newest one is from about a month ago.
Isn't there a bit of a LFC related Scousey festy thing as well in that? Isn't Lauren playing?
Lauren Lesong is playing literally just before me.
That's what I thought, yeah. So what I was thinking was would you be able to watch both?
Yeah, you can get your rig on. So she's at the Glades, which isn't that far from where I am. So yeah, even if you stay to the end of hers, which you should, you can get over for mine well within, like, I'd say 10 minutes, 15 if you're taking it slowly. But yeah, you can see both of us. And I hope everyone who's gone over to see Lauren then comes over to see me. But yeah, there's also the Cheap Thrills, the band, if you're aware of the Cheap Thrills.
Boys, yeah,
they're playing in the Bread and Roses, I think 5:30, also on the Thursday. So it is a full-on Scouse takeover. Obviously, Jamie Webster's going to be there at some point in the left field. I'm wearing this particular T-shirt, which I got from Hat Scarf or a badge. Good lads, go and get some stuff from them.
Is right, Mick.
And it's a very special Glastonbury flavoured one, Weekend in Paradise,
nice.
From when Jamie played on the main stage there. So yeah, we're all getting...
Cheap Thrills representing Walton Vale. I mean, I like their story as well, because like it's all proper, like, you know, they've just done that themselves, haven't they? You know, I mean, like, they're just like, you know, they're just mates. They play, they put stuff out. You know what I mean? kind of, I mean, I'm guessing a little bit, but it doesn't feel like they've had massive legs up from anyone.
No.
Like, they literally play the Windsor every now and again. I don't know if anyone's ever been in there or seen the footage of it, but it's like people hanging out with windows and all kinds when they're playing
They've
it.
absolutely
I love that.
grafted. No, they
Yeah, I
have.
love
And
that.
I've been lucky enough to do quite a few different shows with them.
The
at
Sway,
different
I'm
times.
told, they're playing also.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. I'll go and see them. But no, I've been lucky enough to go and do some shows with the Cheapfields quite a few times. And yeah, they're really, really good lads. Deserve all of the support and love that they're going to get. So yeah, if you're there, I think it's 5:30. They're in the app. I'm on the app as well, by the way. If you've got the Glastonbury app, you can see the Mighty Mojo. People keep searching for Mo Stewart. No, the Mighty Mojo is my DJ name. That's why it's got my handle on Twitter. So if you're looking for me, that's my name. That's where you're going to find me. Yeah, very much excited about it.
It will be boss. I am jealous. I wish I was going. I've been to Glastonbury a couple of times and had a great time. If you're going and you've got a ticket and you got the Willy Wonka golden ticket, good on you. Enjoy yourself. Go and see Mo. Go and enjoy yourself.
Clean up after yourselves.
I was going to say that. You know what? Like, don't leave loads of shit. Don't have a poo on the grass. You know, just like, you know, enjoy yourself and fill your boots. Just don't be a meth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't be a Glastonbury meth. That is the final bit of advice. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching or listening today. I'll reiterate what I said at the start. It costs you fuck all to press the little button on YouTube that says subscribe. That means the number goes up. That's good for us. It makes the channel look good. It affects the algorithm. People looking in from the outside, they go, ooh, they've now got, it's currently 13,500. But, you know, after today, it could be 14,000 or 15,000 or more. Come on, just press it. Doesn't cost you nothing. Doesn't do anything. But it helps us. And you like us because you wouldn't be watching otherwise, would you? Anyway, sound. If you're not coming over to Patreon, no worries. See you next week. Up the Reds. Enjoy Glastonbury. Don't poo on the grass.